Hi everybody, it's Dawn from Crafting on the Green. I hope you're well. As Father's Day is right around the corner here in the UK, I wanted to do something that you could use. I wanted to do a gift bag and a card. I'm actually making these for my granddad, yeah, I hope he likes them when he gets them next week. So what we've got is a gift bag. It's made from a 12 by 12 sheet of DSP. And it's just a nice simple piece of string just to hold it together, and then it opens up and you've got quite a nice size in here that you could put quite a lot of bits in, and to do it back up all you do is just tie it back round like this. You don't need to pull it too tight, it will hold it just enough that you don't need to fasten it entirely. And then with the card, it's matching. I thought it'd be nice to have a little matching set. Very masculine, and yeah, thought I'd do these ones. So the set I'm using is called A Good Man. It's a lovely set, it's really nice. You've got some lovely sweet pictures on here and some nice sayings as well. I didn't want to have it say Happy Father's Day because, as I say, I'm making it for my granddad. So I've gone for the It's Your Day and I Grew Up Loved. So let me show you how to make them. So first of all, you're going to need the trimmer, and we're going to just use the scoring tool on it. So I've got mine here at the bottom. You're going to take a piece of DSP. One thing I will say, depending on the DSP that you use, if it has a pattern on it and you want it to go a certain way up, then make sure for the first part we're going to do top and bottom for the scoring. So if this is your top, first of all you want to turn it onto the side. So do just be aware of which way up the pattern goes. So first of all we want to score it at 2. Now score it quite gently because DSP is thinner than your cardstock, so you don't want to put too much pressure on it, otherwise you might rip it. So just be careful with that. So we're going to score at 2 inches and then we're going to score at 10 inches. And this gives us our top and bottom. Then you're going to turn it back round, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch. This is going to make a little flap for us to stick it all together. So 1/2 inch, 4 1/4, and 6 1/4. If you have the Stampin' Up trimmer, then the 6 1/4 is in this darker bit here. So if you can't find it, just look in the dark bit. And then finally we're going to score at 10 again. There we go. So it's quite hard to see the score lines at the moment, but that's fine. What I'm going to do is flip it over. Just it's a little bit easier to see the score lines sometimes on the other pattern. So I'm going to take my scissors, and the first thing that we're going to do along this 1/2 inch score line, we just want to chop away this bottom corner. So we're just going to chop all the way up and then across. So you're just cutting off this piece here. We don't need that. Then what I'm going to do is just cut up the score lines here, but I'm not going to cut anything off now. These are creating the flaps for the base. So yeah, bear in mind when you're chopping which way up you want it to go, because you don't want to cut the base and then find that it's upside down. But because the paper that I'm using here is a pattern that doesn't really have to go a certain way up, that's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to use my bone folder, and I'm just going to run along all of the score lines. And do the vertical ones as well. Just like this. Now this is a very simple bag to make, to be honest. There's some that you can add extra score lines in to give it a bit of a score on the side panels, things like that. To be honest, I'm not worrying about that. I like the nice simple ones. So so that's basically it. This is our template. So what I'm going to do is get some tear and tape, and I'm going to put it along this very thin 1/2 inch strip here. Now my tear and tape is not 1/2 inch wide, so I would recommend when you put it down, aim for the bottom nearest the crease, because if you aim for the other side of the flap, then you're potentially not going to join all that well. You'll end up with a bit of a gap. Okay, so now I've got that, I'm going to stick it to the opposite side. So I'll take that off, and I'm going to fold this over, and very carefully, because it should match up, she says. It should match up. Getting stuck to the tape now. So there we go. There is a little bit of an overlap there. If that bothers you, you can chop it off. I might just chop this off because the contrast is quite different. So it's not 100% straight. So you've got to be careful if you're going to obviously run your trimmer down, because we don't want to cut into the rest of the card. So just line it up carefully if you do decide to trim it off. Okay, so now we've got a rectangular shape. So what we're going to do is create the bottom of the bag by basically just folding them in just like this, and we're going to stick them together. So first of all, I'm going to grab my Tombow, and I'm just going to put, if it comes out, there we go, just a smidge on there, and I'm going to fold over my first flap. And then I'm going to do the same on here, and then fold over the second flap. Now I'm just going to upend it, and I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm just going to pop in here just to make sure that the inside flaps are stuck down properly. So just run it along. It doesn't need a lot of pressure, we just want to make sure it's stuck down. So that's the start of our bag. We're almost there. So next, what we want to do is you want to push in the sides just slightly. You'll see they kind of make their own way, and then we're going to squish it. And I want you to find where your 2 inch score line was for the top, and you're going to just fold on that line, just like this, okay? And we'll give it a pinch. We want it to be a nice crease at the top. It doesn't have to be completely flat, but we want it to be a nice crease. So there we go. So this is basically, we've made a bag. What I'm going to do, I have a few little bulldog clips hanging around, and it's handy for when you're doing this because it just helps hold it in position. Obviously I've not stuck it down yet, and we're not really going to stick it down because we're going to make these little tie type things. Excuse me. So here I've got a 3/4 inch punch, circle punch, and I'm just going to pop out 2 circles, just like that. Next I've got some dimensionals here. Naturally I can't find my tweezers. Oh, goodness knows where I've moved those to. I did have them on my desk a minute ago, so I'll just have to use my hands for this one. So I'm going to pop a dimensional just into the middle of each of these, and I'm going to turn them over, and on the other side I have got my matte black dots, and I'm going to use the Take Your Pick tool, which has got the putty on the end, and I'm just going to grab 2 of the larger dots. They come in different sizes. Just grab 2 of those and put 1 in the middle of each. So yes, you've got 2 different size dots on this one. Okay, so now we're just going to stick them on. I'll take the backing off the dimensional, and we want 1, roughly in the middle of the flap, and then one below it on the rest of the bag, just like that. Next we are going to take some twine, and I shall chop a bit off. It doesn't have to be too long. What I wanted to avoid was having lots and lots and lots of twine that you had to keep going round and round. So this is, let's see, how long is this? Just, it's about 9.5 inches. So again with the other bag, as with the other bag, we're just gonna run it round like that. It's actually a little bit harder to do when you've got the bulldog clip on because it distorts the shape of it slightly. Okay, so something like that. So now we've got it held together. But now it's held together, what I'm just going to do is just gently push the sides in. I don't want it to crease, I just want it to go in. So I'm just following it down so that that's now all tucked in. If you want to, what you can do is squeeze a bit further on the side of the bag, but I don't really want it to crease, so I'm not going to worry with that one. But there, so that is the base of the bag, that's it. So now we just got to decorate it. So what I've got to decorate, I've just got a piece of basic white here, which I'm going to cut to, what am I going to cut to? 3 by 2.5. So actually let's do that as the 2.5. There we go. Just gonna make sure I've cut that right. Yeah, so that's the same size as that one. What I'm then going to do is cut a piece of basic black, and I'm going to cut that to 3.25 by 2 3/4. So I'm just using up some scraps here. So things like this is a great way of using up scraps. Right, and the piece of basic white is going to sit on that one. And then finally I'm going to cut a piece of soft suede to 3.5 by 3. There we go, and then that's going to layer underneath the other pieces. So pop that out of the way for a minute. So I'm going to do a bit of stamping now. I'm just going to stamp the man in the deck chair. Feels like a deck chair kind of day. It's lovely and sunny here today. Okay, so I'm going to pop him in the middle. There we go. Now I'm just going to colour him in. So I'm going to use Light Misty Moonlight for his shorts. Seems like a very denim-y colour, this one. Okay. Then I've got here Light Pumpkin Pie, which I'm going to do for his t-shirt. It's almost a clashing colour, but I kind of like the fact that, you know, dads and granddads, they seem to just have their own style, don't they? So so I'm not worrying too much about fashion, but I do like this as a colour. In fact, when I was growing up, I think my brother had a colour very similar to that on his t-shirt. Right, Light Petal Pink is what I'm going to use for the skin colour. A typical untanned British white man. There we go. I love seeing these things come to life. I think when you add a bit of colour, it really just, you know, it just looks so different. Right, next one is Light Crumb Cake for his hat. So I don't know if you notice when I open up my blends, I try to open it away from what I'm working on, because every now and again you will get a little bit of splatter from them. I find that if I don't use a colour for a while, then it might just be a bit splattery. So just open it away from your work, just in case it does have a bit of a splash. Right, I'm going to do, what have I got here? Dark Poppy Parade. I'm going to do for the deck chair behind. I think that's a very typical red and white striped deck chair. Okay, and then finally I'm going to use Dark Old Olive just to add a little bit of greenery by his feet. Now obviously if you wanted him to be at the beach, you could go for a nice bright yellow instead, but I just think mine's in the garden. Okay, so that's the colouring done. So what I'm just going to do now is stick these layers together. So I'm going to use Tombow. If you're using Tombow on a hot sunny day, bear in mind sometimes it can come out quickly. Obviously the hotter it is, it's a bit meltier. It still sticks, it still works absolutely fine, but just bear in mind it may rush out a little bit more. Sometimes you definitely don't need to squeeze quite so much. Okay, so there we go, that's my layers made up. Now I'm going to stick this onto the bag. And I want it to go roughly in the middle, but not too close to the bottom. Now it's hard to push down so much on this, so give it a little firm squeeze, and then what I'm just going to do is pop it to one side to dry while we do the next bit. So for the next bit, you'll notice with me I don't tend to measure out my labels quite so much. So again, I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to stamp and then cut around it. So I'm going for the It's Your Day again, and I'm going to place that near the bottom-ish corner of this piece of basic white. Excuse me. Then I'm going to bring back in my trimmer and I'm going to cut it to size from here. So trying to leave roughly the same kind of gap around the outside. I think I just want a tiny bit more off of this side. I find when it comes to stamping things that are small, I prefer stamping and then cutting around it. Now I'm going to layer this up in the same way. So I've got a piece of basic black here. I'm going to stick this on and then I'm going to cut around that as well. Nearly dropped my glue everywhere. There we go. So now I'm just going to chop this one out. And then same again with my soft suede. You can of course measure and then stamp if you prefer, but I just find for smaller things it's easier, for me at least, to just cut around it. That's a bit bigger at the top. There we go. See, no measuring involved at all, and now we have our label. So what I'm going to do is pop that at the bottom in the middle, and I'm going to put it on dimensionals just so it's raised up a bit. I really don't know where on earth my tweezers have got to today. Isn't it typical? You know when you're crafting away and you can't find one thing and you know it's there, and as soon as you stop and you don't need it anymore, it will show up. Right, so there we go. So that is how to make a nice easy gift bag, which is a fair size gift bag, and make it for your favourite man in your life. It can also be used for birthdays as well, it doesn't have to be for Father's Day. Right, now I'm going to make a matching card. This is quite quick, to be honest. So I've got a background here, a card base of soft suede. And the first thing we're going to do is find some matching DSP. And I'm going to cut this at 2 inches. By 5 and 11 inches. And I'm going to stick this down the side. I think for my granddad I'm going to fill it with sweeties and send it off. That'll be perfect for him. So that's the base done. So next I am going to take another piece of basic white here. These are already cut to a card base size. I'm not this is what I would use for my layering on another card, but I'm going to cut this down to size again in a minute. So what I want to do here is try not to cover myself in ink, and I'm going to pop him in the bottom corner about there. And then I've got the stamp that says I grew up loved, and I'm just going to pop this about there. And then I'm going to cut it to size. So again, I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing this. So I want it to be a bit more above him, I think. Something like that. And I'm just going to trim a little bit more off the side. Yeah, just like that. So as you see, it's roughly just over 3 1/4 by about 3. So I'm just going to colour him in as well. And to keep it simple, I'm going to do them the same colours. Plus I do want it to match. Okay. It's a wonderful set, this. If you haven't seen it before, I would advise having a look, maybe do some Pinteresting and just see what other ideas you can get for it. It really is, it's quite lovely. It's a nice sweet one. Petal pink. There we go. And because of the way the stamp is, with it being quite a sketchy picture, it doesn't really matter if you're not too tidy with your colouring. To a point, I guess. Alright, so I'm going for the light pumpkin pie again for his t-shirt. There we go. Dark poppy parade for the chair. And then finally a bit of old olive for the grass. And as you can see, because it's kind of just a swirl on the floor, I'm not worried about doing it blocky. I'm just kind of going over the swirly bits. Right, so next I need some basic black. And again, I'm not measuring. Some things don't need to be measured, I don't think. Just going to stick it on there. Now, because the card is soft suede, I'm not going to layer it again. A little bit of escaped basic white there. Yeah, I'm not going to layer it up again onto the soft suede because it's already there. So I'll just get this one chopped. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to stick him onto dimensionals again. Just put a few on here. There we go. And I'm going to put him closer to the top than the bottom, but somewhere like this. And then finally I've got some more of the matte black dots. So I'm going to put three at the bottom and one at the top. There we go. And that is a card and a bag done. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today. I do love this stamp set. I haven't used it nearly as much as I should have. But yeah, if you like it, please click like. If you want to see more, then subscribe. And don't forget to click on the bell icon as well so that you get notified every time I release a new video. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.